Tupelo, and I got these little patterns. And the nice thing about these pins is they don't have to be exact, and you know, just about anyone who even has any kind of inkling of what a fish looks like can pretty much, you know, knock one out. Made a little pattern. This one's hand drawn. You know, all these are hand drawn, just from a picture. And I take and, you know, have a piece of wood, draw the outline and bandsaw it. Then I got the stack of wood, and then of course you just run the piece of wood through, and you know, you get a whole bunch of pins all at once. So it's kind of a mass production thing. If you're going to do one, you might as well just do a bunch, Christmas presents or whatever. This is my other. You can tell just by how many of these I had. I cut out more of these. This is a largemouth bass, and that one was another one of my big ones. I would sell this one faster than I can make them too. So, and as you can see, I've just stopped carving pretty much, you know, pins, and these are just what I had left over. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun. You know, it's a real neat project, and when you see how fast you can do one, you know, it's neat. And with a lot of detail, even though it's a small little thing and you don't put much detail in it, it looks like you put a lot of detail in it. And I'm going to show you how you use a wood burner as a carving tool too. Most people think it's just for putting texture on, but I'm going to show you can carve with it too. You can clean things up, especially on fish. And I've given a couple classes on doing, you know, my the bigger fish and stuff, and I use the wood burner to clean up underneath the fins and hard to get to places. You just go in there with the wood burner and kind of clear the fuzz away, and it saves on sanding a lot. But that's that. Does anyone have a pencil? That's the one thing I don't have. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to do this one first, and then what I do is I just kind of look at my pattern, and I see that I have to just draw a line across here just as a reference point. And then I know I'm going to have my fin come in here, and my gills wrap around. Why is this interesting to do upside down? Like that. My eye's going to go in here somewhere. Here's my lip. My bottom lip. And you can see I'm not even being, you know, super careful on what all's happening, and that's the beauty of this. You don't really have to be. Okay, that's just going to give me my start. First thing I start out with is a carbide barrel. I guess you would call it. Cylinder. Okay, since he said that, you need very little bits, so don't get too many bits. No. Minimalize. Don't have an overstock of bits. You always have way too many bits. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is start this line. My tail. You can see the tail there. I don't need a. Wow, I should have grabbed it. One that wasn't duller than dull.
Get him a sharp one, George.
Okay.
You can make a sail here, George.
Yeah, you use
Carbide, solid carbide cylinder.
Well, when all else fails, you just switch to this. I know what I did. My son did a bunch of metal on there because I can see a bunch of metal in there.
He's got one for you,
Hey. Oh, I got. What do they call these again?
Ooh,
Stump cutters?
That'll really
Stump
chew
cutters.
the wood up.
Yeah, that's a little too aggressive.
Okay.
That's too aggressive. Well, a stump cutter is one of my second favorite bits, and the reason being is it takes a lot of wood away, and it almost sands it as it goes. Now, there's two ways of doing these pins. There's one where you can take it down, you know, super thin, you know, like this one is. And the other way, which seems to be the best for the people who buy them, is you leave them thick on the ends like that. That's the carver's method, because then they break them and then they need a new one. But if you leave them thick like this, they last a little longer. So I'm going to start out now. I don't know if you can. It's hard to tell on this one, but this would be the spiny dorsal. So that's your leading edge, and that's the trailing edge. And so the thing that's going to be out in front is going to be that spiny dorsal. So then you want it to come back in.
You just quickly pass that around.
Okay.
You know, we can all hear you.
Okay.
Our minds
We all got bad eyes.
just to see what you're reading.
So the fins really give the back of depth on the rest of it, probably more depth.
Do it, yeah.
Oh, the Sunfish?
Yeah.
That's a Trout. That's
Yeah. Okay. I've got that definition done. That's what I just passed around. Okay, I'll start a new one. So we'll have them in stages. Okay, so around that. Come in there, round that off. Okay, it's going to be here. What?
I got a head rack. I hang mine for them on them, so you're just letting it swing and you go off it. Gosh, somebody actually has a good idea.
Oh, this.
Yeah, instead of bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, if we knew someone, they could make those and probably sell them things. Okay, here's my lip. Come in here, and then of course the next deep thing is going to be the mouth. We want some definition to the lip. Okay, then I'm going to do the gill. Then round the body off there. Slow speed, good sandpaper. Okay, that's how I would. That's how I get started. That's the roughed out. Define the line where that fin, the back part of it comes, and then this isn't connected, so I'm just going to kind of define that line. With this same bit, I'm just going to kind of come in here and just make some fin raise. And you can see I don't go in and sand in between, because pretty much everything's going to happen with this bit here. You know, after all, it's just a pin, you know, and it's not a competition piece. And you can go crazy. One year for a fundraiser, artist, when she was here and worked for the Hadley Company, I did some pins where I put scales. I put scales on all these things, and she was gonna cast them, and then everyone was gonna paint them. And I think some people painted some and whatever the castings. But yeah, it was quite the chore of putting little scales on these guys. I'm just going to come in here and define this a little better. Now remember, I was selling these for $10 a piece, so I had to come up with ways where I didn't take much time.
You have to paint them too, yet.
Yeah, I still had to paint them, yep. Needless to say, I'm not driving an Escalade.
Gas is only $1.25 a gallon now.
Yeah, thank God, no. And it helps to, you know fish anatomy and doing this type of thing. Oops.
Will you touch your thumb with that? It doesn't even hurt, huh?
Cut your thumb with, do that with one of your things. You're not carving the rest of the day. And it's a largemouth, so come in here and I'm just giving the illusion that this mouth, I'm not going to carve the teeth and tongue and all that kind of stuff in here. No. You can't make me. Okay. Oh, then the next thing is come around and give this fin some definition. And I usually just kind of take the back of this off. That fin's going to be out in the air. Pass that one around. Oh, here. On here now too. Fine sanding. Just kind of go in there and put your eye in and draw a couple of these lines that are on the gill plate. Then just kind of sand everything smooth. And I've had mixed feelings on doing pins. If they look carved, they seem to sell better. if I were to do them too smooth and too finished looking, people would think they were just a casting. So the more carving marks I left in there, it seemed to be better. Kind of a rustic style. Okay, and then this lip separates.
You're seeing that in gift stores now, where they sell statuary with, they leave the carving marks there.
Okay. Okay. Now, I'm going to pass this around, and you're going to see this little cut in here, this little where the bandsaw didn't quite make it. And then this fin is still attached, and this fin is still attached, and this is where this is. Oh, I better turn that down for this one. This is going to be a line because that cuts in, so I'll just make that a sharp line. And this is going to be a sharp line, and a little undercut in there. And we can come in here and do that. Like so. And then you can come in here, and this is my sanding tool. You just turn it down a little bit more. And I'm going to come in along here and just kind of burn all that dust out of there. Turn up just a little. Round that off a bit. Find my lip line.
Can you touch your finger with that just like you did the router?
No, see, it burns.
I mean your finger.
Yeah, no, it burns.
Oh, it does, okay.
Does it sizzle a little when you do that?
Did you hear it? I'm not going to do it again. I'll only do it once. Okay. Now right here, here's a little bandsaw line too, and I can take a bit and file that off if I would have remembered. But since I didn't remember to do that, I'll just come in here and take it away with the wood burner. Like so, and if I want, I can come in on some of my that one's a little, if anyone knows fish, they know the spiny dorsal kind of steps up. So with the wood burner, just make a few steps in there. And you can't see it now, but when you pass it around, you'll see it. And then when you paint it, it all comes into perspective. Now I can come in here too with a bit, which I probably should do. And just give the illusion that wraps around. But now you can see the, I got those at Michael's. And they come, like 5 to a pack, and they have gold and silver, or brass and silver.
What was the name of the store? I want to start in Burnsville.
Indigo Art Supply.
Indigo.
And it's north of 42 and east of 35W, right in that strip mall. There's a money exchange store and Second Wind exercise equipment and so on.
Isn't that a large Dick Blick store there?
No, Dick Blick used to be behind, well, yeah, there was one there too, but the one in Burnsville used to be behind the Burnsville Center, back there over by Buka.
Okay.
But Dick is no more. Now there's a Dick Sporting Goods. This is the back part, you know, the tack. This is a tie tack for anyone who doesn't, you know what a tie tack is or hasn't seen one of these. You put it, where'd that pencil go? Put it down, just kind of draw a line somewhere where it's going to go. And then I take this cylinder.
Don't.
Well, this part probably isn't dull. Set it in there, and then just kind of make a little dish. Take some 5 minute, stick some 5 minute in there, put it in there, and I've found that if you take the 5 minute, dip it in the 5 minute epoxy and stick it in there, that's not good enough. I take and then I just fill that whole thing with the 5 minute, and then it'll never pop off, because a lot of times this is so smooth, you put it in the 5 minute on there. Even the duck pin, I've done a couple of those, and yeah, I just used to stick them on like that, and it just pop away from the 5 minutes. So I make this little divot in there, put that in there, and then just take a toothpick or something and put the 5 minute in there and just fill it up. And then that way, this little thing, you just grab there's two little squeezers here, and it pops right on. You can stick it on a hat, stays on a hat. And you notice the position I put that in, the very top. So if you're going to do a sunfish, you can take a sunfish. These are crappies, everything but the deer heads, unless you really, really, really want one. Just put that in the uppermost top portion of it, and reason being is gravity. It'll keep it
hang by itself.
Yeah, it'll hang by itself. So that's that. Very simple, very easy. It's a fun project. I've had kids do them. They're great. And, it's something you can say you made, and you can see once you get going on them. If I were just to do this in a production line, I'd have the one bit in. I get them all, well, this is what these are. I started roughing them out, so I get them to that point. And then once I get a whole bunch of them to that point, then I switch my bit. And I go back and I do all the fine tuning. And I mean, you can go crazy, and you can put scales on those. It's not recommended.
New machine.
I carved those a while ago. An artist cast them. Yeah, I went super crazy on those. But I didn't have time to finish my one. No. I mean, the scales are on the beard. Here, you probably see the scales on that one.
He went up on us tonight again.
Yeah, I gotta have the best.
That was supposed to be one up.
If anyone knows a good way of cleaning these, because I am a guy who can't throw anything away, but
Fire.
I've heard of some guys that you can just take your thing and stick it in some kind of solvent. It's all acrylic. But feel how heavy it is.
Alcohol. So
You stick your
Put it in beer. He said alcohol, just stick it in your beer.
No, that's
That's
alcohol abuse.
That'd be alcohol
Mark,
abuse, no?
hey, listen, I'll tell you what to do. Just go to Walmart and buy a whole stack of paper plates. White paper plates are perfect, and then, start over again. And then just-
Oh, but they got all these neat little.
You
Well,
can do
these used to be dishes.
Well, you can do what the guy did in St. Paul the other day. Gasoline in these clothes.
Yeah, I saw that. And blew it up. It was fine until he run it into the sewer.
They blew up.
that's how we improve the gene pool.
I had a buddy who owned a roofing company, and he had a kid come and work. And of course, he had that roofing tar from head to toe. They dropped him off. He didn't even ask, how do you clean this stuff off? So he went down. He went to his garage, got a can of gasoline, went downstairs to the basement into the one of those little shower stall thingy deals, unfinished basement, and started wiping himself off with the gasoline. And he said all he saw was just a big blue flash. And well, no, he really seriously burned himself. But yeah, the pilot light, it just filled the fumes in the thing just got up so far, hit that pilot light, and he said it was just a wave of blue just coming right at him.
Yeah, I've seen it.
This guy got burned up a little bit.
Yeah, he did. Get a pair of shorts on, and his whole legs were all wrapped up.
Yeah.
Well, anyhow, alcohol will dissolve acrylics.
So I just stick it in the like denatured alcohol.
I suppose. I never cleaned off anything as thick as that. But leave it to Scott to overdo, you know.
Denatured.
Yeah.
And then drink
Denatured?
it first and then.
Well, I had that stuff in a bucket once, and I opened up the pail, and I'm like, what the heck's that? I found out quick it wasn't water.
Fill each one of them with ammonia too. The ammonia is a great
I think,
dose. Right
Ammonia?
out of the bottle.
Okay.
It might not cut as fast as alcohol.
Well, I don't know. All I've done is take spots out of clothes. And
I think they've got to be a project here.
Okay.
I got some paint I didn't know.
I got all these colors. When I do tube paints, I seem to take out more colors than I need or do with it. When I work with an airbrush, it seems like I only need half as many colors because the way I blend them, it all seems to work. Got a rainbow trout, a sunfish, and that bass that I started carving the other night. I'm going to do all the colors rather than do one fish, then come back and do another fish. As long as I got my paintbrush dirty, I'm just going to take advantage of that. The rainbow trout, all fish. It's just white paint right now. Any kind of primer. So wherever you get, if you did them with sanding sealer or white shellac, your pins, the wood ones, that's fine.
So you don't put a white gesso base on.
You can put gesso on. Yeah. White gesso base would work fine too. Any kind of any way you start painting, white base is fine. Start out with silver. If you're going to use an airbrush, same thing. And all I do is just this is non-tarnishing silver.
Now, this you've already put the base on it.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So you just paint the whole side of the fish silver. And sunfish, that's the rainbow trout.
You know why he does that? Because they're in the water and they get wet and they become silverfish.
Okay, the sunfish, you're going to paint silver just right under the gill plate and down the bottom of the fish, the tail, something like that. And then you can just kind of blend it up just a little bit. Okay, the bass is the same thing. Fish, I've noticed, in general, they're gold on the top, fading down into silver, as a general rule.
And that's right out of the tube.
That's right out of the tube. Yeah, I don't mess with too much stuff. The bass, that's the one when we started carving. I'm going to come in here and just kind of really quickly do silver down the side of the fish.
Great bass, man.
Like so. So that's our starting point. That's my other thing too, is I glob way more than I need. I'm going to take a little smaller brush this time.
90% paint is wasted anyway.
Just kind of wipe your brush off. And this is a little rich gold. And just going to kind of brush over the top real lightly. And it's just the top half of the fish that you want to put the gold on the rainbow. So it's something like that. Just the very top half. This fish has a lateral line, so it's real easy to distinguish the middle of the fish, or the top half of the fish. Okay. And then on the sunfish, I'm going to do the same thing. The top half of the fish, right here. And it's okay if you get too far with the silver, because the gold will kind of cover it up. Then you can kind of come in here, and nice thing about Joe Sonia paints, they're really good blenders. They're not like Liquitex paints. Liquitex paints, once they dry, they're dry. The Joe Sonia, to make it not blend, use that stuff that Tom used, that varnish in there, and that also thins it out.
I
Okay.
thought you always had to add varnish to that Joe Sonny, you know?
No. If you want to blend it, if you don't add the varnish, it's just like oil paint. You can come back in a couple hours, and I can stick this in water and wash it, but overnight, then it's then it's pretty much set. The bass, the same way. We're going to take the gold, come over the top of the fish. It's the top half. And then just kind of feather the silver and the gold together. And the same thing, the top half of the tail back here. And you just kind of get a nice little coating on there. You don't need much, because it's only a base for now. Okay, so basically every fish I do, in every fish I've noticed, the base coat is always that color: silver on the bottom, gold on the top. Okay. The next thing, I'll do some pearl white.
And mix it.
Oh, that's the other thing I hate.
Came out kind of fast, didn't it?
Yeah, it came out kind of clear.
Separate it.
And I've never really figured out how to...
There you go, that's how you do
Yeah, we used that for quite a while.
I haven't used anything for quite a while. That's my wife.
Anything?
Focus.
Come on, you got
Oh,
years
there we
ahead.
go.
We get to see it.
Watch this, grab it.
This one is pearl white. Okay, now pearl white is generally just on the very bottom of the fish. It's its belly. And that's on the rainbow trout. And then on the sunfish, with the pearl white, all you're going to do is just under the jaw, right there, and then right back here by the tail. You don't want to do back from where the gills stop to the pectoral fin there, or the anal fin, the pelvic fin. Yeah, you don't want the funny little fin there. Yeah, the bottom fin in the front. Okay, so just a little bit of pearl right there. And then on the bass, this pearl is really weak. You're going to do the whole bottom jaw coming up right there. And you are going to do just the belly right there. And if you want, you can just kind of stick a little bit right in there, but you don't see it anyway, so it's no big deal. Let's see if we can get this stronger. And I don't own one of those knives. I'll just buy another paintbrush. Okay, there, that works better. And then we're going to come in here, right around the lip, and just kind of hit that area just a little bit. If you get on top of the lip, you just wipe it off. So, it's fine. And a little, this is a Cadmium Scarlet, just because it's really bright. There's another goopy one.
Cadmium yellow and cadmium red?
Yeah, Cadmium Scarlet. You can cadmium red, any kind of red, any color yellow. Those I just pick because they're bright, and if I buy those, I just mix some other colors in there to tone them down. Then I don't have to have a gazillion tubes of, you know, red. And they're the truest color yellow and the truest color red that I know of anyway. And you can do anything to alter them from there, so. It just avoids on having to, you know, 6 different color reds, even though I have probably 3 of them. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of the red and the yellow. That's about all really I needed to squeeze out. And we're going to mix them together. We're going to make a nice orange. A little more yellow. Now, the percentage is whatever you want. However yellow you want to make it, however orange you want to make it. If you wanted to make it a female bluegill, you're going to have almost pure yellow. But for a male bluegill, we want that nice orange. And we're going to come right here, and everyone knows.
But you guys were gonna pay a male. Yeah.
We're just going to kind of come in here.
Yeah. Damn it, pay a male.
We're going to put it on right like so. And I'm going to wash.
Double secret handshake anyway.
I'm going to wash the brush out. And then I'm just going to kind of blend this back. And you can see the Joe Sonia colors are real nice for that. And that gives me like a translucent, if I was using an airbrush, I would use what's called a candy color. And it would, you know, would show through. Okay, let's see, I don't know. Don't write this color down yet because I'm not sure if I want to use it or not. That's teal green.
Just in case.
Yeah.
You need
It's
it.
all to grab a tube and work them for you.
Yeah.
Tell us what color you're gonna use next. We'll start working on it.
Yeah, if I get paint on me, then my wife will believe me I was a carver club.
Especially that red lipstick color.
Yeah, I really, don't give me camera red. I don't need to get slapped.
This is what we're going to use. We're going to use that olive green color.
What you call olive green?
Olive green. And I'm going to make a wash out of this. And see, I wish I would have brought that my varnish. I couldn't find it. But you can make a translucent color with that varnish because you know it's clear when it dries. So you just put a little color in there, and then you can. Adding water makes it a little too runny. I don't like working with it that way. When you use that varnish, you can make a translucent, you know, kind of a wash and still keep the thickness. Okay, with that olive green, we're on the rainbow trout. We're going to come right over the top. We're going to start right on the very top and just kind of wash right over that gold. And that's that for that. And on the bass, we're going to dry our brush off a little bit more. We're going to do the top of that, fading down right over the silver and the gold all together. And just don't get too close to the bottom because you want to keep that kind of white. And we'll do the lip here. So you can see that. You can kind of pass that around because that's the fish we were doing. And the same thing with the sunfish. We're going to start right on the top.
That's olive green again?
This is the olive green. And we're just going to kind of, then we're just going to fade this back down across the fish. And we want to stop and leave that pearlescent white kind of showing there. You can just kind of blend that orange out a little bit more. And we'll go back in and touch up some areas there too, so you can see that.
Good.
And I'm going to just kind of hit this again, like so. Paint out of that by just thinning it down a lot for a wash. And this is always fun. I like doing this. This is that cadmium red.
This is trout.
Yeah, this is the rainbow trout.
You didn't get in.
This would be a fun Saturday project, wouldn't
Yeah. You do the little line going down that. We'll just kind of see that. I'll pass this around. And then right on the cheek, a trout's usually got a nice red cheek. So there we are on that. And where'd the sunfish, okay, it's on its way around. I'm gonna kind of, probably have to hit this with, with yellow again. I just like this a lot brighter. I'm gonna go in and I'll hit that with some yellow to orange it up again. But after looking at that, I just want a little bit more of that in there, just to make it brighter. Okay, the bass doesn't get any red. So we're done with that. Doesn't really want to shake. That's probably all. That's all I'll need anyway. I'm going to take a little bit of that, and I'm going to take a little, that's cobalt blue. I'm going to take a little bit of our pearl white. I'm going to put that over here in this little area, and just a teeny bit of blue. I mean, just a dot of blue. A little more. All right, like that, because you're going to make a sky blue with the pearl white, and it's just going to kind of give you that pearlescence in there. And this is where it gets its name, the bluegill. Oh, we got to make that darker. This guy. 4 dots. We're on 4. That probably looks good. And we're just going to give it its bluegill, and that's not dark enough yet. Even I need to get into the real stuff.
Real pigment.
Yeah, there's no pigment in that at all. There it is. Okay, that'll show up now. There we go. And just kind of, the blue goes just right down there at the bottom, like that. with the same color, and this is really, got to be really careful. On a rainbow trout, they usually do have a little bit of a blue flushing down here, so I'm just going to kind of very lightly, just lighter than that. It's hard to do with the brush. I'm not used to feathering and painting with an airbrush or with a brush or airbrush. But just
Use an AB?
no, Iwata.
HTC?
H, yep.
You get fine enough.
Oh, yeah, I could do those. I could do all the little spots that I'm going to do with those too.
Really?
Yeah. So far, I don't need glasses, but I thought I was going to have to need them here just a little bit ago because I couldn't focus. Oh, there I go again. Right there, I got a whole, I used to be able to just do, I can't even read.
You're
Okay,
still
right
good.
there.
You're still good.
I mean, yeah, I think I'm still good. It's when you're like this and you're going,
You're still good way out there. It's when you get glasses and
You can buy cheaters to get you out there.
okay. Well, everything I do is right here anyway, so.
Not like me, they gotta type slow, because I read slow, so I type too fast.
What's reading? Okay, so where are we at? We've got that sunfish there. We're at these colors right here. The olive green, put a little olive green, and just a teeny bit of the raw umber in there. And you're just kind of making that olive green a little bit more muddy. I should just do it over there. Good, did you see that? Right into the dot. Okay. We'll take just a little bit of that, and we're going to dry brush this on, basically, right on the very, very top of the trout. And here again, it's blending. Blending is my worst nightmare with a brush. So we're going to let that one go. Same thing with the bass. We're going to come in here and get the top of this.
You're using that paint pretty thick, aren't you? You're not watering it down much.
Yeah, not at all. I'm trying
Moisture's in the brush. Huh?
right. I'm trying to dry brush.
Dry brush it, yeah.
Because I don't know how to. I'm not tuned in the. Okay, I'm coming down the lip a little bit. I'm not tuned in the fine art of feathering acrylics. So basically, it's the very top, and we're not going as far down as we did with just the regular green. It's just a little darker. So we're just trying to feather that out a little bit more. Just to give it a.
You use oil?
I use lacquer paints and an airbrush. Okay. Yeah, let's see. There we go. I'll let that sit too long. I got a harsh line. There we go. See, that's the nice thing about the Joe Sonia. That paint was dry, but it hasn't been dried long enough. And there I just took my paintbrush and some water, and it went right back up. With the varnish, though, you wouldn't have been able to do that. Once it dries, it's pretty much set. Okay, so we'll darken up just the back a little bit more. With this same color on the sunfish now, we're going to come and we're just going to kind of just model the face, just little dots here and there, just a pattern. I can pretty much do this freehand and, just out of my head, but I do suggest if you're doing this, study pattern or, look at some reference, of course. And then just kind of the same thing on the top of the sunfish head. I'm going to hit his hit his mouth just a little bit, just dry brush, just on the very top of his head, and then just kind of bleed it back, just on the back of his head. Okay, then we're going to take the same thing, we're going to go a little darker now, and we're going to do the bars of the sunfish. And we're going to come down in a pattern like this. You're going to draw the outside of the bar. And you don't want to just draw a straight line. You can see I'm dabbing. I'm just kind of making a random pattern going down. Like that. If you look at a sunfish, the bars are two stripes, and then you'll fill in the middle. And what I like to do when I work with these acrylics is I like to do my stripes, because the outside of the stripes are a little darker. And then when I come back in and fill that in, I'll hit these lines that I'm making here again, and I'll just make them a little darker. Just kind of bleed them off. When you get down to the tail here, they kind of stop making a bar pattern, and they just have a random little bunch of dots all over. I'm going to come in here. Again, I'm just going to kind of fill this in. Not fill it in completely. I'm just going to go in there and make a couple little dots inside there. I don't want it solid. It's not a line. Actually, what it is, it's a bunch of individual scales that are darker colored, so close together it actually just appears that it's a line, and that's how that works. Just like feather groups. Some aren't totally solid. I'm going to come back over. Like I said, it's always best to start light, because you can always go darker. Just like so. And then you can just kind of come in here and put a dot, 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 dot.
Now, you know how to do this because you've done a million
Yeah.
rounds.
Yeah.
Is that the
Yeah.
reason why this all just comes so easy?
Well, yeah, and I this just a little bit darker. This is all that same color now. I'm almost out of it. I'm gonna leave it at that for now. That looks pretty good. We'll come back in and we'll do some other colors.
What do you do with the fins?
That'll be coming up. We're jumping ahead. You leave the fins for last because you're always grabbing them. Okay.
Well, you said you were done with that.
Well, no, we're done with that for now. I'm gonna. Our Mars black, just black.
I bought it last year.
Actually, Kurt from Kurt's Wildfowl, I was looking for black, and I asked if he had any carbon black, because I used to use carbon black a lot. And he goes, well, you're looking for black? And I said, well, yeah. He says, well, carbon black isn't black. And he sold me this Persian blue, and I'll be darned if I know there's one other color in here. He sold me both of them, and he said, you mix these two things together? Huh? Raw umber? You mix the two together, and he says that is the blackest black you can get.
Best black you can use.
Persian blue and raw umber. That's what it was.
That's what I use.
Okay.
Not burnt umber.
Raw umber.
It was raw umber.
Raw umber. Okay. But anyway, it's easier just to get some other color black in a tube.
Close enough.
Yep. But, Kurt's Kurt, and, when he's trying to sell you something and he came up so far, you figure, I'll just buy a couple tubes,
Carbon black's about as black as I can get.
That's what I figured.
It's blacker than I can
Anyway,
get.
black, so.
Okay, we're going to take a little more of this olive green out.
Yeah, put a little blue in it.
I actually mixed burn umber with the blue to get the glass.
You mix burned umber.
And that's funny because Mars is red. I don't understand where they get Mars
If you
black.
use ultramarine blue, it gives you this really deep black. It's just a neat black.
Okay, the black we're gonna take straight right on our little ear of our sunfish here. And you're just gonna color that little ear right there with the black. Boom. Okay, now we're going to take some of this olive. Again, and then we're going to take a little black. And we're going to make this a different color dark as opposed to the, what did I mix in before? The raw umber. And we're going to make this just kind of a off, I don't even know what color you would call this. It's bass black. For better terms. Yeah.
Bass black.
From the eye, we're going to come down, just make a series of little dots across here, and then again, you know, you got to use your reference.
So you making a fan?
Yeah, we're going to make the pattern that's on the bass's gill plate there. It's a little dark out here. Coming down. We're going to just do the top of the lip right here a little bit. This other lip. And with the same color, we're just going to kind of very lightly just kind of dab. You don't want a solid color. And this is why, oh no, I got that on there. You don't want a solid color, just kind of dab it around on the top of the head. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. And it just kind of gives it that camouflage color, you know, because fish are kind of camo colored when you look at it from the top, because they're supposed to emulate the bottom. And that's usually why when you look at a bass or like a trout, it's got all the spots and they're usually on top. When a bird's looking down at them, they're supposed to blend with the rocks on the bottom. So they usually have some kind of pattern. With the same color, we're going to go back here. You know, bass have that classic big stripe going back. And the nice thing about this fish right here is you don't have to worry too much because there's not a whole lot of it there to do. Boom. You know, I mean, you can make any kind of pattern you want going back. And then right on the tail. And that's halfway down the fish. And there again, references everything. So, when you see that. With this same color, I'm going to come in here and do my rainbow spots. Now here again, the spots are mostly on the top. You just want to do a whole bunch of spots on the top of the rainbow. And granted, you know, there's leopard rainbows and everything else that there's spots over the entire body, but we're just kind of doing the classic rainbow. Just do a few spots. Some on the adipose fin. And most of the time, and I'm saying most of the time, I never say there's never any. There's never, there I go again. There's usually hardly any spots in that red line. There will be occasionally, but they're not solid. One of those real striking leopard trout that I'm talking about, anyone who knows fish, especially trout. They've seen them. I mean, spots, the whole thing is spots with some color in it. But your typical rainbows usually don't have spots in that red all the way through. 1, 2, occasionally here and there. Some on, more so on the tail right there. And then what I always just put a few down here. And okay, with this same color, with the same black and olive, I'm just going to kind of come in here and just kind of hit these bars just randomly all through there, and that's just going to make them stand out. Oh, that's a little too much. I don't know how to fix that.
Now, would you use an airbrush here, or would you use a,
No, I'd use it. Yeah, I'd be using the airbrush here.
would you?
Yep. I love my airbrush. These, well, you can see, you know, I'm not really a brush enthusiast, so I don't have a whole lot of, you know, good brushes, and then I'm bad on them. You can see I mix my paint with them. Isn't that the #1 rule not to do? Mix your paint with your brush.
Well, we saw Tom do it the other last time.
Yeah, I saw Tom do that too. I was kind of wondering about
Yeah, he
that.
did it, so I figured that must be the way to do it then.
When you see Kent, he always has that little palette thing.
Where you don't wear out those $10 brushes.
Yeah. Well, you know, crazy. Okay, on the sunfish, we're just going to take.
They turn over.
Is that what they do? It's just.
Yeah, you gotta get a little curl on the
Then
end.
you gotta paint it an angle.
We're going to put a spot on the top dorsal, right there. Pass that around. I'm going to
I'm
come.
gonna have to excuse myself, Scott.
Okay, I'll have to grab the notes from someone then.
Nothing to do with the quality of the presentation. Superb.
Betty by time.
It's for us old people.
Oh, it's cutting into beer time. We're almost done. Okay, basically, then. I know, I'm coming.
You're getting to look like a fish, isn't it?
Okay, the next color is burnt sienna, and we'll wrap up the bass. That's the last color for the bass. We're going to take a little bit of that.
Do the fins.
We're going to paint the dorsal fin. With that, we're going to paint the pectoral fin with that.
He needs an adult beverage too.
You're not even watching them, you're just watching them through your screen.
And then on the rainbow trout,
Closed circuit TV, yeah.
Taping
we're going to paint
Oh,
the
you're taping it? Really?
we're going to paint the tail with that. We're going to paint the dorsal fin with that color.
Must be a lot of tape in that little camera.
going onto that chip.
And we're just going to
Well, yeah, there's a little woodpecker on there hitting, doing the stone and stuff.
we're basically painting all those fins with the burnt sienna. Okay, with that painted, then we're going to come back to our dark. We're just going to grab a little more black, just to darken it up just ever so. And the tail. You know, this is going to be hard and not with an airbrush. They usually have a black outer ridge right on their tail, black line. That's usually how you can spot them in the water, is looking for that black line. Kind of like the white spot on a walleye. Oh, who am I talking to? It's like a redhead flying through the sky, or a greenhead.
When you use you have an HPC, right?
Yeah.
With a fine tip? Or?
Yeah.
And then when you do those real fine lines, you hold it real close?
Yeah.
And just let it have a little bit of paint
Yeah,
each time?
Just ever so slightly.
You have it fairly thin?
Yeah, retarded and thinned.
Oil or lacquer?
Lacquer.
Oh, lac.
You have to have a.
Does that come out of those airbrushes probably better than acrylic?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, this is night and day. The acrylics will gum up. You know, I got the watercolors. I pretty much just threw them away. Yeah.
How about your ventilation for the lacquers?
Oh, you got to have ventilation. You know, I got a paint booth, so
Real good.
yeah. So I'm not really worried about that. Okay, there's the bass.
Girl or boy?
Didn't you notice it's a good with your
Male.
But you gotta.
How do you tell the difference?
For that. You might just.
Male's got a penis.
Turn them over.
I don't know.
This is on tape. It's not gonna make tonight's
bottom
TV.
fin, you want to turn it on that side.
You got sound on that thing?
Not gonna make tonight's sports show.
Yeah, right.
It's all been captured.
Okay. The next color for the sunfish fins, we're taking that raw umber and a little bit of black,
Why would I think that?
and we're just making those. We're making a little darker wash, and we're gonna come in here and darken these fins down, and hopefully I'll darken that spot with it. Yeah, we'll probably have to come back over and do that. Boom. Yeah, I'll hurry up here just a little bit. I won't paint the edges. And then this fin, the anal fin. And just kind of rush over the... They usually have spots on their dorsal fin and the tail, so that's what I'm doing with that same color, is just kind of going in here and putting spots. As you can see, they're really, you know, you don't have to be exact, because the fin rays that you have on there are good enough. The bass, I'm just going to darken this down just a teeny bit more. Right there. We're done on that. And the very last thing you do is come, oh, let's see, is that still good? Oh, yeah.
What kind of wood is that?
That is DuPont wood.
DuPont wood?
It's, get down, I did do that?
You
Okay.
did, yeah. And
Okay.
you could put epoxy in there.
Yeah. So the indent, you're just going to come in here and put rich gold. Now to do it really right, there's about, 4 or 5 other colors that you put in there, but I don't get that technical with the pen. So we're coming in there. In the time it took me to do these 3 pins, I could have done 10 pins with an airbrush, and they would look a lot better with a brush. Now, this rainbow is the hardest to do. It's got this really small eye. And that's actually the easy part. The sunfish eye is a little on the small side. Okay, so that's just rich gold in the eye. And now we're just going to hit the black. Straight black. You're going to try to draw a pupil in there. And that's always fun. A Sharpie marker works okay for this if the paint's dry. You don't want to go in here and make the, especially on the sunfish. And the trout. Trout's another hard one.
I'll just look at you.
So basically that's it. You can go in with some iridescence if you want and play around and put a little green iridescence on this, put a little green iridescence on the sunfish. After it's dry, I wouldn't do it now without having the varnish in there, because if I do it, I'll just wash everything away. You can go back over on the bass with some rich gold and put it, you know, do an extremely dry brush and just kind of brush over the top of it, and it gives it like the gold tipping that's on fish. And anyone who knows fish knows what I mean by the, you know, gold tipping. Really, really carefully, Dick Peters showed me how to do it right. And what you do is you take the part A and the part B and put them as close together as you can, and you take a toothpick or a pin and you go underneath them, and you just keep going back and forth and back and forth. Don't lift up and go like that, because that's where you'll get bubbles in it. So yeah, and if you do get bubbles in it, take a hair dryer and just hit a hair dryer and all the bubbles will come up to the top. You want that 5 minute as clear as possible. Take it on a little toothpick and just put it on there till it just domes over. When that's dry in 5 minutes, or you know, wait 10 minutes or overnight. My suggestion is try to get it as, you know, as flat as possible, because if you have a pin on the back already and you do this, you come back the next day and your eyes, you know, on the top of your head over here somewhere. So just get it to be straight. Let that set, and then when it's all done, hit it with, you know, your favorite clear coat, whatever that may be, and boom. And when you put a clear coat on these fish, they look kind of drab right now, but you put the clear coat on there, boy, they just pop to life. And that gold, which if you look, you know, if you move it, you can see it under there. But once you put the clear coat on there, that gold kind of pops out from underneath, and you know, really brings life to your fish. Don't clear coat your duck, but clear coat a fish.